You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Well, welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, each week we bring you important and useful information on issues facing baby boomers, their parents, and other loved ones. And I just want to thank everybody for all their support. Our listeners are growing. We have a lot of ways that you can listen to the show. Some of you might be hearing us right now on a radio station, because our show has been syndicated on various radio stations throughout the country. Some of you listen to us on our podcast, which you can get. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, many other online stations, as well as we have our own app called Boomers Today that you can download on your iPhone or Android phone. And again, thank you. I think our listeners are growing because we have so many wonderful guests and great information to share. And we have another great guest with us today. We have Bill Vicary. Did I do that right, Bill?
Yes, you did, Frank.
Okay, Bill Vicary, who's the founder and president of Vicary Management Group in Greenville, South Carolina. He created Just Call Bill, technology service provider to senior adults. He started it in 2017. He has developed classes and programs to teach seniors on how to use technology to become better connected to their family and friends. In addition to his programs, Just Call Bill also provides technology, move-in, and IT services to seniors in their homes. His passion is to connect family and friends by utilizing technology. Bill, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, so, you've told me kind of your passion, which is connecting seniors and families through technology. So I think what you do is fantastic, but maybe you could just give us a little overview on exactly what you do. I mean, there's a lot of things you do, I know, but just give us an overview if you can.
Sure. This all kind of started is way back when I, in my corporate days, was handed an iPhone 4, and we had to turn in our BlackBerries, and we all looked at each other and said, what do we do and how do we use them? Well, there was nobody younger to ask. So as time evolved and, iPhones, it came to the 6 and the 7 and the 8 and the 10, I was that person in the neighborhood and with family and friends that they'd come to and say, can you help me with my phone? And, I didn't think much about it, but the request increased. And so I started doing some research to say, well, why do they keep coming to me? Well, why isn't there somewhere they could go, they meaning seniors, for help? And the more research I did, the more I found there are very few places to go. So the entrepreneurial brain kicked in gear, and I said, well, why don't I create a curriculum to teach seniors how to use their smartphone and their tablet, specifically the Apple products, because I think they're more intuitive. But what I also found is that families, especially seniors, were experiencing what I call the technology tug-of-war. And what that is that they ask someone younger, could be a family member or whomever, and they say, can you show me whatever that might be? Well, that person usually grabs their phone, they do whatever they do, and they hand it back to them. And the senior has this puzzled look, and they say, well, what did you do? You did it too fast, and I don't understand. So this begins the tug-of-war, because now that younger person takes that phone back, and over a period of time, could be right then or over several days or hours, both people become very frustrated. The senior's frustrated because you're not showing me, I don't understand, you do it too fast. And the younger person saying, why don't you get it? I've shown you 14 times. And so what happens is they both throw their hands up in the air and they walk away. And the senior never got to learn what they wanted to know in the first place.
All right. Boy, I've seen that too many times. So I'm sure people listening are kind of chuckling in a way because they've been through it. So what's your approach? What's your approach if you're, and who are you mainly hired by? Usually hired by the seniors themselves or the adult children?
I'm usually hired by the seniors. I do this a couple different ways. I can do it in a one-on-one session, or at a senior community, at a senior center, pretty much anywhere where seniors gather. I've done it with church groups. And so what that is what I realize is that seniors learn differently. They learn because first of all, they want to see an outline or an agenda or a curriculum. What is coming? And then what I do is I take them at their pace, not as a younger person would learn. So there's always an outline. It's always written down. But in the outline, it's just bullet points. It's not a step-by-step how-to. And the reason I do that is, one, it would be too big of a document. But secondly, this is also the generation that learned by taking notes in school back in the day. So however they take notes to best remember this now becomes a reference document that they can go, oh, in the first class we did this, and they wrote it in their language. And I always use me as an example that I'm a very visual person, so I doodle and scribble and draw stars and arrows, and that's how I remember, and so I want them to remember best in taking notes. So I take this in short segments of time, little bits and pieces. When I've taught through the OLLI program, which is a national continuing senior adult education program, they asked me that I had to have 12 hours of content. And I was like, wow, I don't even know if I know 12 hours of content for a smartphone. So it really forced me to learn and put these in smaller segments, but then also add other valuable things for seniors beyond navigation of the phone. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah. So are you usually doing this in group sessions or one-on-one?
I've done them both ways. Just before, we had this pandemic happen, I was working with several people in their homes, sitting right on the couch next to them.
Right.
But in turn, yes, I try to limit the class sizes to about 15 to 20 people because it's very hands-on. So right now it has been hands-on, but I'm working on some virtual things that we can maybe talk about later. But I want to see their faces. I want to have them ask questions. I want them to be very interactive. So when I watch them and their faces are kind of, scrunched up and have that dazed and confused look, I can say, what's going on? And like, well, no, I don't have settings on my phone. Well, no, yes, you do. And the key, what I teach them in literally over that long period of time, and it's not all at once, it's in 45-minute to an hour segments, is I only teach them what comes on their phone. The very last class is when we talk about apps in the cloud. Because what I want to do is build their confidence in navigating their phone, because they're always worried about, well, what if I press this, or what if I get scammed, or what if, so by the time we're finished, I've led them down the road of confidence with their technology that they now want to do all the cool fun stuff, like, putting Boomers Today app on their phone.
Okay, got it. So so you're mainly working with them on the phone. So if they have let's say they own a laptop or they have an iPad, are you also giving them training on that, or would you say the bulk of it is done on the phone itself?
It's done on the phone and the tablet.
Gotcha.
And it's interesting because, especially with the Apple products, they're pretty seamless and very consistent.
Right.
And most don't realize that the iPad navigates exactly like their iPhone.
Right.
And then, the cool thing is we sync them together and then it's seamless. I haven't done any teaching on the computer, but when we offer the IT support, then some of the text can go in and say, oh, geez, here's how you set up a file folder, or, it basically retirees that, all of a sudden they forgot some of the stuff they used in the corporate world, and a reminder of, how do I use Word again, or, setting up my Excel file or what have you.
So if you're dealing with a group, I'm sure their level of understanding is going to be different from person to person. So where do you start? When you have
so
a
I
group
start
of people?
that's a great question, because as I tell when I'm in a group, I said, I can't assume what you know or don't know. So please be patient, and we're going to go at a speed and by watching them, then I can speed up or slow down. But I've literally had people come to my classes where they're taking their phone out of the box for the very first time and don't know how to turn it on.
Right.
And then I have ones that say, well, geez, I just bought this new iPhone 11 Pro, and I want you to show me how to use it.
Yeah.
But very quickly you realize I would say the majority are not power users or experts. They just want to be, navigate it quickly and effectively, and have that, ability to connect to their family.
Yeah. So I'm always amazed, and maybe I'm the one that's wrong on this, but I'm always amazed when I still see people that have landlines in their home. Okay. And obviously, I would think the main reason to have a landline is your cell service is just horrible. All right. But if your cell service is good, and I asked somebody, so why do you still have a landline? Well, what about an emergency? If I have an emergency, how are they going to get me, or how do they know? So can you address that? Do you feel that somebody, an elderly person, okay, should have a landline, again, for emergency reasons, or are there other options that people are unaware of?
Sure, and that's a great question, because when I teach, and this is one of the topics that comes up, is about landlines and your cell phone bill and what have you. But when it relates to landlines, I'll ask people. I literally do a poll in the room. How many of you have a landline? And it's usually 40 to 60% have one. Mm-hmm. And then my next question is why? And they'll look at me, and it's usually two reasons. One, the one you just said, well, I've always, in case of emergency, I need to have this. And then the other one is, I've always had one.
Right.
So then I go to the whiteboard and I draw a little picture. I said, so we're all of the age of these boomers. And I said, there was the day of the telephone pole and the line that came into the pole with your phone on the wall. And I said, and back in the day when we had a thunderstorm and the power went out, your phone always worked. Mm-hmm. And then I erase all that, and I erase the telephone pole, and now I show cable. That most of them don't realize that their landline is a voice over IP internet phone.
Right.
So when your power goes out, nothing works. No phone, no internet, no television, and no lights. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden they become enlightened, and somebody will say, well, why didn't somebody tell me that? And I said, well, it's not that they're being deceptive. It's just, I guess they think most people know. But I always preface this by saying it's a personal choice. I had one lady tell me, she said, if it cost me $1,000 a month, I'd keep my landline.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Because the other part of this I look at is, you can save money by not having a landline. A lot of the cable companies will want you to have the bundle with the phone, internet, and television, but you can save probably $10 to $15 a month if you opt out of the phone. But there are some that just don't want to do that because they've always had that landline.
So if somebody does call 911 from a cell phone, I know on a landline, my understanding is that they, can track and determine exactly where you're at. Okay? Is that the case with a cell phone?
It depends on where you are, but typically they'll ask you the address,
Right.
And when you dial 911, if you happen to hang up, you'll always get a return call. I was showing my brother actually some features on his phone about medical emergency, and he happened to hit the emergency button, and he quickly hung up, and 10 seconds later the phone rang and said, "This is 911. Do you have an emergency?" So in some parts, the more populated areas, they do have the ability, but if you're in a rural area, you may not have the ability to and also with the locating services on your phone, because it's a little more difficult.
Got it. So, Bill, we're going to just take a real quick break here. I want to recognize our sponsor, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about some of the scams that are going on, and maybe some advice you could give to our listeners regarding that, and certainly we'll make everybody aware on how they can get a hold of you, okay? So we'll be right back. I want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, an elder care consulting organization that has a national network of professionally trained and experienced local advisors to assist families in determining the right path for your loved ones. They'll discuss various long-term care options, so whether it's in-home care, assisted living, memory care, or if you just need an advocate to get some advice from, a local Senior Care Authority advisor can help you now. So for a free initial consultation with an advisor in your area, contact Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to the website at www.seniorcareauthority.com, and you could find a local advisor in your area. We're back with Bill Vicary, who's the founder of Just Call Bill. He helps connect seniors and families through technology and learning a lot of great information. So, Bill, maybe so we don't run out of time and we rush this, why don't you share with everybody how they could get a hold of you, whether it's a website, whatever contact information you would like to share.
Sure. Well, if the company name is Just Call Bill, so that phone number is area code 864-621-0224. You can find me on Facebook, Just Call Bill. And then the website is a little more trickier, but it is Vicary Management Group.com. And if you look under services, there's Just Call Bill, and it explains everything that we do.
Perfect. Great. So, I know we have had people on the show before, several. We can't do it enough because there's always these scams that are going on. What are some of them that are the most prevalent to share with people, and are these the types of things that you go over with families that you work with as well?
Absolutely. So I do a whole session on scams, and I start with phone scams. That is the number one scam with going on right now, and it's interesting because as I explain this in my class, I probably get, or in groups of people, I'll get people that go, "Really? Who falls for this stuff?" And I said, people fall for this stuff every day.
All the time.
So part of it is I'm very serious. I said, I'm here to scare the bejesus out of you, not, hopefully frighten you like deer in the headlights, but I want you to be more aware, put your awareness antenna up a little further, so that you can be more cognizant of what's going on. So the number one rule that I talk about phone scams is really easy to prevent them. Never, never, never answer your phone unless you know who it is.
Right.
And they'll look at me and they say, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, the people that you know and you're going to talk with frequently should be a contact in your phone."
Right.
And if you're getting a call that says scam likely, or from some area code that you don't know, or even an area code you might have used to live in, do not answer. Because when you answer a phone from a scammer, then your number is sold on the black market, and the volume of scam calls will increase.
Yeah.
And so part of that is if you don't answer, you don't get scammed. Now, if you answer, I have lots of people that they want to be cute and, I'm just going to, talk trash to them or, put on my 3-year-old grandson. just remember, when you answer your phone number, them will be sold, and you're going to get more phone calls.
Yeah.
I've had stories. I could be on here for an hour with you telling my what I explain is bad people are doing bad things to good people, and so you have to be aware. And so don't answer the phone. If it's important, if it's that new doctor or the lady you met at the club the other day to play cards with, they'll leave a message, and then you can call them back.
Are there particular ones that you could just maybe share with us that seem to be a little more prevalent, that those that do answer the phone, though they shouldn't, but those that do, that they kind of fall for it? Some that have?
Yeah, I mean, the bad guys are really good at being friendly and creating a trusting environment. And this could happen over time, just not one phone call. Sometimes they are the one and done. They're getting money from you. But it could be, I noticed you're having problems with your computer. If you let me dial in your computer for $250, we'll fix your computer. Oh my gosh, yes, I've been having trouble with my email. I don't know who to call. And all of a sudden they let them into the computer. They've already given them their credit card, and now we're off to the races of bad things.
Right.
That's an extreme one. But it could be, as I tell a lot of people, there are new scams, especially now with the virus out there. They're playing off the stimulus money. They're playing off prize money. They're playing off your emotions. Right. Tax time. This happened to my father. This is Agent Wilson from the IRS calling, noticing that there's a discrepancy in your taxes from 1992.
Right.
And my father talked to this guy for 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then finally realized, but so they, again, it could be IRS, it could be the stimulus money if you're qualifying to do this, and how do you get money? So it's really, you can try to put your number on the do not call registry, but it doesn't really work very well.
Yeah.
So what I show people is, how do you block that call with your phone? So that, and what happens is the bad people, I used to get a call from this company that told me I qualified to win a cruise. Well, that started coming from about 4 different area codes.
Right.
So when I blocked it from one, they came from another. Or it could be a different city within the same area code, because you're more likely to answer a phone from the area code you live in.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah, in my area it's 864. Oh, well, I don't know who it is, but it must be somebody local. I'll pick it up.
That's why they use those numbers. Yeah, that's why.
Absolutely. So the bad guys have technology that they're dialing about 4,000 phone numbers a minute.
Right. So
and so this is a numbers and odds game that eventually somebody's going to pick up and do something that they shouldn't.
Best advice is, like you said at the beginning, just don't even answer. Don't even answer.
Correct.
If they keep calling back and you don't answer, eventually they're going to give up. So.
And when you block the call, what happens is on their end, the phone just rings and rings and rings.
They can't even leave a message. Yeah.
Correct. And so, the bad guys never used to leave messages, but I keep voicemail messages from. I had a company that said, "Oh, well, we're going to give you a no interest loan for $175,000. They don't even know me.
Right.
They're just going to give me $175,000 because I'm a nice guy. So it's that old adage: if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is not true.
Correct. So a subject matter that I'm sure we could spend a whole session on is username and passwords, and I'm sure it's frustrating for everybody, but especially those that aren't as familiar with using phones and all that, and passwords, and they're getting suggestions to change their passwords. I mean, and as I say, we could probably spend a half hour on this subject, but any just general advice that you could give people regarding managing their username and passwords on various websites?
Yes. A number one rule is write them down. It's interesting. We are all taught to protect ourselves from the bad guys, these scammer type guys, because if they get your username and password, like your social security number and other things, they can get to just about anything. But in turn, you're not going to remember all of these. So come up with a system that works best for you, whether that's a pad of paper, whether that's a spiral bound notebook, or some place that you can put these that you would know, but also a loved one will know. That God forbid, if something happened to you, meaning sickness, illness, or death, how could someone access these places where you have usernames and passwords to help you later on? And what I've seen over and over, most recently, my brother-in-law's mother just passed away. She paid all the bills online, and her husband doesn't know what these are and where they are and how to access them.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. I know there's these third-party programs.
There are, yeah. and they're good if you're tech savvy enough to know how to navigate them.
Exactly.
But if this is a big challenge for you, what I say is simple as write it down, keep it in a safe place. It's not out on the kitchen table when the painter comes, or keep this protected like you would anything else. And then, but have it in a place that you could go remember. We've gone to help people, and they've literally dumped out pieces of paper and napkins with various usernames and passwords, and say, "Well, it's here somewhere."
Right.
Well, it's confusing and heartfelt for them that they don't know what it is, and they keep changing it, and I don't want to, and so just keep a very organized pad of paper or a notebook that is easy to keep track of.
Great. Bill, I could
scratch out the old ones and have the new ones in there.
What you do is fantastic, and I commend you for doing it. And
thank you.
So, unfortunately, we're out of time, but maybe you could share with everybody how they could contact you, and also those that are maybe outside of your area in South Carolina. Is there assistance that you could also provide to families from other areas? And again, if you could just answer that and share the information again, that would be great.
Absolutely. So yes, we can help wherever you are in the country. My goal is to grow this business and reach as many seniors and families, because it's usually the children of the seniors that get asked these questions, and sometimes they can help and sometimes they can't. So call me at 864-621-0224. Look for me on Facebook at Just Call Bill, or go to Vicary Management Group /Just Call Bill, and I'd love to talk to you, and we'll figure out a way we can help you or get some services available in your area that can help you and your family stay better connected.
Great. Bill, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on Boomers Today. Just be safe out there, and we'll talk to everybody real soon.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.